Okay, so we've added our functionality in the previous section to get our React operations or our CRUD operations working locally inside React. But what we want to take a look at now is persisting our data back to the API. So if we take a look at what we're currently doing, all we're doing with the API, if we open up the app.tsx file, is we're going out to get the list of activities from Axios and then storing that in our activities. But we're not doing anything with our other functionality with our API. So what we could do is go ahead and use Axios inside all of these different functions, but what we'll take a look at is centralizing our API requests into a central location. And what we'll do is inside the client app, inside the source, inside the app folder, let's just create a new folder called API. And inside here, we're going to create a new file and we'll call it agent.ts. And this is going to contain all of our requests that go to our API. So the first thing we'll do inside here is we'll import Axios from Axios. And what we can do with Axios is we can set up a base URL inside here so that for every request, it uses this particular URL and it just saves us a bit of typing. So what we'll do is we'll specify Axios and then we can set some defaults, and these are all the defaults that we can set, and we're going to set the base URL, and we're going to set this equal to, and we're just going to hard code this for now, the localhost 5000/API. And if we take a look at our app.tsx, what we note is that the response, or the data we get back from the API, the stuff that we're actually interested in, is inside this data object. So what we can also do is make ourselves, or make life for ourselves, slightly easier by creating a const called response body, and we'll pass in the response we get back from Axios, which is a type of Axios response, and then we'll just get the response.data from this. And then what we'll do is we'll create an object that's going to store the common requests we're going to make to Axios, the get, the post, the put, and the delete, and store these inside an object as well. So we'll say const requests equals, and we'll just open curly brackets, and we'll add a request for get, and the get is going to take a URL, which is a string, and then we'll say axios.get, and we'll pass in the URL, and we'll say len, and then pass in a response body. So our get request is going to contain whatever it is we're getting from this URL, and store it inside, and then pass out the response body, which is going to be the data object. Now, in our case at the moment, that's just going to contain our activities. And I'm just going to copy this line down 3 more times to be slightly lazy. And the next request is going to be a post. The one after this is going to be a put. And the one after this, we'll just use del for the delete. And then we'll just swap the Axios requests here and say post and put and Axios delete. And for the post, this is going to take a body as well, so we'll say body. And this is going to be a type of object, and we'll do the same for the put, which is going to take a body and type of object. And then as well as the URL, we'll pass through the body for the post and for the put request. And then what we can do is we can create an object that's going to store our requests for our activities. So we'll say const activities equals, and first of all we'll add a request to go and list the activities. And what we'll do here is just add another function, and we'll say requests.get, and then we'll just pass in the URL of the activities. Now this is going to be the base URL plus whatever we put inside this request. So in this case it's just going to be activities. And then because we've got the function here to return the response.data, then this is going to be inside the response body, and that's what we're going to return from our list. And then what we want to do is create an object that we're going to use. So we'll say const agent, and then inside here we're going to specify the activities. And then we're going to export default and agent. And then we'll be able to use this inside here to get our activities and then our list request. So let's just check to make sure this is working. We will come back and make some improvements to what we're doing here, because if I hover over the list, then all we're doing at the moment is returning a promise of type any. And we will come back and put type safety into this. But for now, let's just make sure we can get it working as it is. And what we should be able to do is, instead of using Axios.get activities, we should be able to go to our agent and make sure this is brought in and say activities and list. And then we've got our response, and we don't need the response.data, we just need the set activities and the response. And we don't need to bring in Axios into this file anymore either. So we should be in the same place we were before we made these changes. So let's just go to our browser, make sure we can refresh the page, and we can still see our activities coming back from our API. So we haven't actually changed anything, but what we do want to do is make sure that when we call this request, then we know what type our response is going to be, because at the moment this is set to a response of type any. And what we want to do is add type safety inside our agent file, and we'll take a look at that next.